Hey, everybody. It is February 27th, 2019. I'm Adam Prine. This is Erika Graham. This is TCSN Live.
Good morning.
Good morning. We got a good show today. We have Don Ford might be joining us in a little while. We have our first guest, Tom Wells, who's running for Congress in Florida. We have Danielle St John, she's big into the Green Party. She's going to talk to us about a couple things. And we have Brian Cheeseman, who's going to talk a little bit about the Green Deal and the American diet and vegetarian, veganism, and all that stuff.
Great.
So it's pretty exciting today. It's huge in the news today. We got Trump just sitting right now live as we speak, sitting down with Kim Jong-un, and that just trips me out, the whole thing. We got Michael Cohen going live, going testimony today. Huge thing he's going to read, calling Trump a liar. Trump paid him off, all sorts of crazy stuff. But we don't really cover all that stuff because mainstream media covers it all day long. So if you're interested in that stuff, you guys can watch that. We're going to talk more about Medicare for All being dropped today. Pramila Jayapal is releasing the newest one, and it looks like it's going to be what we want. It looks like they're going to be cutting out most of the insurance companies, and they're not going to be watering it down to be like a mediocre for all. It's going to be full-on Medicare for all. That's what it looks like. India just dropped a bunch of bombs on Pakistan. That's nuts. I'm not too familiar on what's going on out there, so I'm going to try to get somebody on Friday getting the details about that. I wanted them on today, but we couldn't have them on. And we're going to start with our first guest, Tom Wells.
Good morning, Adam.
Tom.
Good morning, Tom.
It's nice to be here.
Tom, I can't see you. Can you see us?
I see you, and I see me in the vignette. And it says I'm in the show. Team and audience see and hear you.
Okay.
The camera light is green on my MacBook Pro. I'm not very photogenic.
Okay, so now I don't know where Tom went.
Maybe we have a automatic censorship.
You look great.
You can see me now.
I can see you.
That's positive.
You can see Tom?
I can see Tom.
You can? Okay.
Yes.
Can you hear Tom?
I can hear Tom.
Only when I'm talking.
Okay. That's the oddest thing in the world.
Yep. Keeping me on my toes this morning.
Okay, so let's see here. I don't understand why I can't see Tom or hear Tom. Can you ask Tom to disconnect and get back on?
Sure. Tom, can you disconnect and then come back on?
I am not sure how to disconnect or how to come back on.
Do you see an X in the top right corner of your screen?
No.
Okay.
It says live.
Live. Okay.
So
Adam?
I'm presuming that the audience can see me.
I'm right here.
And only you can't see me, Adam, but what do I know? I'd be live.
So
which is
Adam,
the name of the app.
I'm not quite sure how to turn it off. So
Let's see.
no X at the top of the screen.
This is okay, everyone. We're going to get through this real quick here. I don't understand why this is happening. He should be able to okay, everybody. Sorry about this.
I am in the show.
See Tom at all for some reason, and that's very odd.
Can you see Tom now?
No. So what I'm going to do is try to. Hey, good morning, Chris. He can't. Can he just sign up, get off of this, close this out, and come back to the link? Tell him to just close out his computer thing and then go back to that link and go back.
Okay. Can you try to close out your computer? Like close out.
I'll just close this tab.
Okay.
And come back through message.
Great.
Okay, look, he's gone. I don't know what's going on, but at least you could see him.
Yeah. And I would imagine the audience can see him too.
Yeah, that's what I hope that they could. I was about to just say go ahead and start doing it, but then I was worried that maybe for some reason here's Tom. We got it.
Great.
Okay.
Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Adam.
All right.
Did not catch the name of your other guest.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is
I'm
Erika.
Good morning, Erika.
Good morning, Tom. Okay.
So, Tom, you ran for Congress in Florida 3rd District?
Yes, in 2016 as an independent and in 2018 as a Democrat. And I am in the testing the waters phase of the campaign according to FEC definitions until I raise $5,000, which could be any moment now.
Okay, and you need 5,000 to register to get into the race?
No, actually, you need 10,500 in Florida to qualify, or you can qualify by 6,000 petitions. But like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in Brooklyn, you usually need 2 or 3 times that many petitions because they will try to disqualify them with their lawyers if they have any concern about your potential victory, which they should in 2020.
Yeah. So you ran as an independent in 16, and
yes.
How much did you get? What percent?
3.6%, 12,500 votes.
That's pretty good for an independent.
And then this year I got a bit over 18,000 in the primary, and primary votes are much smaller voting block. So
yeah, because you ran as a Dem. Okay.
That was 35%. I've forgotten the number.
Great.
Okay. Oh, wow. 35%. Whoa, that's excellent. So you really got shot here with this. Now you're running against, tell us who you're running against.
Ted Yoho is a Freedom Caucus member of the Republican Party. He's into his 4th term now. He has committed publicly that he will not run for a 5th term. So I'm expecting a bloodbath with 5 or 10 Democrats who've been waiting 8 years and not challenging him because you can't beat a Republican in this district except you can. And I know that because I've been talking to Republican groups. I've been talking to Republicans everywhere I see them on the street. I've been talking to every Trump shirt for the last 32 months that I see. And they were voting for Trump, many of them, because they had intense dislike of Hillary, and they were completely repulsed by the Democratic National Committee's obvious blatant rigging of the election. So at least the Republicans can claim they had an honest primary. Even though it restricted millions of people from voting, they did sort of count the votes that were there.
If you can call it honest, yeah.
Yep.
So what you're saying, there was a lot of the people that voted for Trump. It was because he was the best off. It was
he was the option. He was the option that was not the status quo.
Right.
And this was a revolutionary cycle. There will be a revolution in 2020. And I have to believe that because I believe that my grandchildren are not going to die on a dying planet. Yeah. So when things have to happen, when there is no choice, this is what Winston Churchill said so long ago, that America always does the right thing after trying everything else.
Oh,
yeah,
I love that. I love that.
Yes.
I think that's where we are now.
Oh, we have tried. I think we've covered the everything else pretty thoroughly.
Right.
Right. Let's hope so.
And there's a very nice scenario in my mind. Well, first I should mention my training is a theoretical physics. Back in the day, 50 years ago, when you could do your education because you found it very interesting and still survive to make a living.
Right. Which
pretty much ended with the modification of student loans that happened under this guy, Bill Clinton was his name. So,
okay.
I shouldn't say too much more about him, I suppose.
So will you be running in 2020?
I am in the test in the water phase. I cannot say that I am running. I am intending to run, and I expect to be announcing shortly.
Nice. Wonderful.
So that we got about almost 2 years before that happens. So what you have to either you got some of the money, you got to raise the other half of the money. Is that what you're trying to do?
Oh no, I have to. Well, I'm hoping to get on the ballot by petitions. I don't like to waste.
You are.
Okay. Don't like to waste donors' money
right.
on something that we can do with the volunteers, and I have volunteer small groups, admittedly, in each of the 6 counties of my district.
How many people are in your district?
Oh, every district is supposed to be rigged for about 700,000 people across the nation, except in states that don't have 700,000 people, but still get 2 senators.
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, we're really weird up here in Florida.
We're a big state along with California and Texas, and not too many more.
Mm. What would you say set you apart from other politicians in Florida?
Oh, we have a number of good politicians this last time. The theoretical physics training, of course, led me immediately to be an electrical engineer and spend the last 40 years developing codes for very small changes in different companies' products. And those problems were difficult, very complex. Politics is in a terrible situation, but the problems are totally trivial. We all know what to do.
Right.
As a physicist, I'm accustomed to stepping back and looking for the uniformities and creating hypotheses. And the hypothesis itself is simple. Corruption legalized by our Supreme Court in violation of the Constitution. You don't need to amend the Constitution. You need to start impeaching Supreme Court judges. And I think they've given us a great opportunity with Brett Kavanaugh. You can't impeach him. You can't impeach nobody.
Right.
Yeah. So he lied at least 5 times in sworn testimony before the Senate because he thought that the Republican members could protect him from exposure of the lies that were built into his federal record, his work record, which was supposed to be released, supposed to be in the sense that everyone else's work record, as he applied to be on the Supreme Court, always was open for inspection, but only 10% of his papers were open for inspection. So, but you asked what sets me apart, and trying to come up with plans rather than platforms, a strategy for passing all those things. And the fundamental problem is exactly as I alluded to, the fact that donors can own our congressmen. And that will be true. Well, we see the marvelous example of the 7 BNC, Our Revolution, Justice, Democrat, new representatives in Congress who got there by small funding. And we know the names of those people because they are fearless, and they are fearless because they don't have to satisfy any donors. They only have to satisfy us. We know Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. We know Ilhan Omar. We know Rashida Tlaib. And we know Ayanna Pressley. And we will know soon the other few. And people like Ro Khanna are getting on board. And we have a bunch of Democrats supporting Bernie Sanders. And the plan that I propose centers around Bernie in 2020. And I see it as our last gasp as a civilization, because there is no planet B, and unfortunately there is no party C, because the time scale for either is not
now.
there.
That's right.
That's right. And Alexandria said it so well that there's really not much difference between the climate delayers and the climate deniers. With either one, we're toast. Yeah. So she is one of my heroes. I met her 2 years ago, and I knew she was going to be a congresswoman.
When did you meet her? When did you meet her?
At a conference, and there were panels of BNC, and I keep thinking that it's Netroots Nation, but it might have been People's Summit. So I've been to so many conferences, I have trouble keeping them straight.
Right. I'm going to try to make it to the People's Summit, the next one. The BNC all went there. Is that what it is?
Yes, they had a panel of 6 candidates.
That would have been great.
Yes, that was in 2017.
Oh yeah, exactly. Back when nobody knew who any of them were.
Well, they made themselves quite clear, and Alexandria was the star of the show, and she has changed the conversation about as much as the Parkland students. She has made it so clear that there is a brilliant distinction between the corporate sponsored candidates and our sponsored candidates.
Yeah.
But with the corporations having all the disposable income in the world right now, certainly more than 90% of the American population, the only option that we have for electing people is to devote public funding to those elections. And there's public funding mentioned in HR 1, but it's a corrupt form of public funding. It's a nice matching funding, but it does not preclude the candidates who receive public funding from also receiving corporate funding. You need to have a completely separate channel where the people who take public funding cannot take anything else. And I think the cleanest form of public funding would be to have a voter voucher account. We have the internet, folks. We have secure banking. We can pay our bills through Venmo and PayPal or 100 different things. We can have the software ready to go in 2020 so that we can set up a public funding account, a $100 voucher for every registered voter, and let them give it to any candidate who abides by what I call straight error.
I've heard of it. So you're behind this.
And
I've heard this. You want to explain this a little bit more, maybe?
Yeah.
This to the audience?
Yeah, I call it straight error ethics, when you take public funding and you take nothing else. And
straight error. What do you call that, please?
Straight arrow which has a bit of panache and certainly communicates the idea that you are an honest person. If you can come up with a better phrase, I'm completely fine with that. I don't have to be the champion of messaging. But messaging is easy. The messaging is easy because the Democrats being funded by the same corporations that the Republicans have done no messaging for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's astonishingly easy to come up with messaging, as Alexandria is demonstrating far better than I through every tweet she does. And I think Elon is catching on with that as well. So it's a very hopeful time for me. So but the question is, okay, you got this great idea of public funding. Who would ever vote for that? How do you get past anything when you don't have a majority? Here's the plan. The election of 2020, I'm projecting, because I believe in the future of the planet, that Bernie Sanders will win, and his small dollar donations will reflect on the viability of 100 to 200 other candidates as long as they come out of the woodwork. We had 104 last session, 2018. Only 7 made it through all the filters and got to be new reps in Congress. I was hoping for 100 in 2020. And that level of inundation in the House, hopefully a majority in the Senate, will lead to primal fear in the remaining incumbents. By primal fear, I mean fear of being primaried.
Yes.
Which is their career, which appears to be the only thing they care about. So you say, look, guys, you know that corporate funding that got you elected for the last 30 years, maybe it's not viable anymore. And you pass public funding, and all you have to do is make the people in your district, give them actual cause to like you. Here's how you do that. You pass single payer in January of 2021, as soon as you're seated in the House, and you pass the public funding. And the consequence of single payer done right and done fast will mean that every person in every state will be better off than they were, because the cost, this is something the pundits on NPR, the Washington Journal, the New York Times, everybody says, well, how are you going to pay for that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the depth of corruption is such that that costs $1 trillion less per year than what we're doing.
Right.
Right.
So besides everyone having health care from birth to death with no exclusions for pre-existing conditions, no co-pays or deductibles, and it covering glasses. I could use some new glasses, and hearing aids, and well, everything but hair. Means that everybody will know someone who would not have survived. There are people in my family who have died because they did not see the doctor when they had the intense stomach pain. And it wasn't until they collapsed and were unconscious on the floor and somebody noticed them that they found out they had cancer. This does not happen in 47 other countries of the OECD.
Yep.
You have access to health care.
So you're saying everybody gets $100 voucher nationwide.
Yep.
And
we're going to $20 billion. Our public treasury. Mm-hmm. And I got that far talking to Ted Yoho in a little coffee class he had last year, and he was loving it. But then when I mentioned that it would cost $20 billion from the public treasury, he's like, "Oh no, that's an absurd waste of public money." And I said, "Ted, Medicare Part D, the non-negotiation of drug prices, cost us $100 billion a year for the last 15 years. $20 billion per year per 4 years versus $100 billion each year. That's a good investment."
Yes. So you're saying everyone gets the vouchers, $100 vouchers. Now, can you donate more, or is it just a cap?
No. I would put it at $100. So the guy on the park bench will have as much influence in who is on the ballot and who gets elected as the guy in the big house.
Right.
That is democracy. Everybody's vote counts the same, both in getting on the ballot and in getting in the house.
That's real democracy right there. I like
that.
That
is awesome.
And that $100, that's $20 billion. If I didn't mention that already.
Yeah.
So that exceeds the amount spent in the last presidential cycle by both parties. And it amounts to immediate saturation, diminishing returns on your budget, even though the corporation could easily dump $100 billion, they cannot use it effectively.
Wow, I didn't know. So no one can say that it's not enough money. It's more money. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. I like that. I like this idea.
And the way to pass it is part of the plan. And if you do that, then you will have, by 2022, people who want you to like them. So you can get rid of private prisons. You can get rid of for-profit schools. You can have free university. You can have a $15 minimum wage, which you don't wait for 2025 when you ask for it in 2012. That's absurd. Will dumping $1 trillion in at the bottom of the economy, a push-up economy, work better than a trickle-down economy? Oh, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Feeding everybody gets to touch the money. It's really basic. It's so easy to think if it's trickle down, it goes down. And if it's trickle up, that means you give it to the bottom and everyone gets it.
They build a bigger bathtub and nothing trickles down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, basically, Robert Reich suggested exactly how a tax cut works. And there's an even simpler version. My version is much, much simpler. That if you give somebody who has a business making stuff $100 billion, does that increase the market for his sales? Has he underrepresented in the market? No, but he can use that $100 billion without doing a single thing and invest in the $100 billion in debt that was created, giving him that refund and buy treasury notes to get not only keep the $100 billion, but also get 3% return on it per year. And there's zero impact on business, on on
Yeah.
on anybody except
And
him.
it destroys the entire. When you say it that way, I'm thinking right now. It just came to me that it kind of destroys the whole idea of a free market trying to have entrepreneurship and innovation to make the best product, so you can stay ahead of the. Because you don't need anybody. You can make plastic crap, and everyone's going to buy it because that's all there is.
There have been academic studies which show that the return on investment when you lobby Congress. Now, you and I can't do this because it doesn't work for $5 lobbying. If you can lobby at the multi-billion-dollar level, the first-year return on investment lobbying Congress typically is 1,000 to 1. You spend $100 million lobbying for Medicare Part D in 2004, you get $100 billion of our tax dollars.
Whoa!
So there's two troubles with that. One is the obvious one, that we're giving away our tax money and getting nothing except dying in the streets. And the second is that it hollows out corporations that used to do things. They see that their biggest profit center is lobbying. So why would they do anything else?
Right.
So it hollows out, it destroys both the people who are making the money and us. I'm more worried about us. But in the long run, we need people who are doing capitalism. I am a democratic socialist. And the contest in the media is always capitalism versus socialism. Well, socialism is a theoretical word, and nobody's talking about that. Democratic socialism. And if we look back over here on the left, or the right, wherever it is, then you have
that's
the word.
all the media can do. Left, right, blue, red, Democrat. So I mean, communist, capitalist.
Well, nobody ever questions the word capitalism, and we don't have capitalism. We have crony capitalism, or really oligarchy. According to Mussolini's definition, fascism is the cooperation of government and corporations. Now, the corporations own our government, so I think we went through fascism a while back, and we're now in a kind of feudal oligarchy.
Wow, that's weird to think about that. During the 80s and 90s, we were actually going through the fascism.
Well, the whole plan for corrupting government was formulated in Lewis Powell's memo of 1971, which the Chamber of Commerce, big surprise there, commissioned, and it says to protect capitalism from the horrors of socialism, we need to start taking over the law schools and producing our own jurists who will understand the Constitution really is about corporations, even though it doesn't mention them, and that corporations are the basic entities that deserve to be protected, and thus we will protect them by saying money is speech, and corporations are people. Yeah. We have a Supreme Court who agreed to these travesties, and I don't think you could actually honestly convince a fifth grader after he mows your lawn that you're going to talk to him instead of paying him.
That's a funny thought.
Well, the consequences are anything but humorous. Yeah.
Did we lose Adam here? Do you see him?
Well, we kept you, so we're good. I don't know if we're online or not, but it's nice chatting with you. Here's Adam.
Oh, yeah, we're still live. We're still live. I was just talking to our next guest, trying to help him get on.
Oh, cool.
So, Tom, we're going to wrap it up here with you. So, obviously, we're going to spend, we're going to be helping you out as much as you need help with. Try to get your signatures.
Absolutely. We have some people.
We'll try to promote your whole campaign. We got 2 years to do so. So
it's going to be 20 months. We're down to the wire now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
20 months.
Tom Wells for U.S. Congress, Florida, CD3. I'm hoping to get a lot of people making phone calls and knocking on doors, and maybe drop me $1.
You're right.
We'd be happy to help with your cause. Absolutely.
Fantastic. I look forward to chatting with you again, Adam. We'll talk
Great.
about
We'll do this again.
divestment from fossil fuels and other such topics and how to drive that, hopefully. But I'll actually try and get a little bit better educated about the meaning of buying short. So thank you so much.
It was nice
Okay,
having
well,
you,
thank
Tom.
you. Have a good one. We'll have you again on soon, Tom.
Take care.
Take care.
Okay. So I'm having a little bit of issues here with the next guest. Trying to get him on. And then we got the other people contacting me. So see what happens with him there. You still with me, Erika?
I am. Are we still
Okay.
live?
Yeah. We're just definitely still live.
Cool.
We are just waiting for one of these. Brian Cheeseman is having a little bit of trouble logging in, which I really, really want to talk to him today. So I hope we don't have issues with it because he was talking to me about vegetarianism and veganism. Oh, he said he's got it, and he's into the Green New Deal. Now I don't think he even knows because I've been into the keto and animal fat stuff lately. So I started debating him on Facebook, but I don't think he's aware that I was a vegetarian for 7 years. Did you do the vegetarian thing?
20 years.
20 years. Okay, so
Yep.
he's going to be preaching to the choir. And he was like, "Don't be too hard on me." And I was like, "No, I didn't tell him that we both were vegetarians."
Yeah, and vegan for 9 months.
Yeah, I was vegan for almost 2 years. But, I'm severely lactose intolerant, so vegan wasn't a problem for me.
But now I've been playing around with the keto diet as
Yes.
well, which I
Me too.
kind of really
So
love.
it's really, I want to have him on later to debate that whole subject. But see, the thing is, I'm still behind him with what he's going to come out and tell us about because what he's saying is the whole reason why I became vegetarian in the beginning and stuff. But but then I also know that my health, I did vegetarianism wrong. I hurt my body severely. I ate nothing but grains for 10 years. I was eating wheat gluten, seitan, pure wheat gluten.
Oh, I know. Me
With
too.
protein. I can't believe I was eating that stuff.
I know. Me too.
Soy
Yeah,
and stuff.
I loved it,
But honestly, I think you could be, cashews and walnuts and eggs. I still say, hey, if you got a couple chickens in your backyard,
absolutely.
But even if you want to be vegan, I definitely think there's a way to be vegan and be completely healthy and good for the environment. What I do think is going to be the issue is if the whole planet tried to become vegan and healthy, you can't grow that many cashews and walnuts.
Sure.
Like it would destroy the environment worse than what it is. Water, tons of water.
For each of all of those nuts. For the most
almonds. But I think that Brian's going to be on in a second, and I think the direction he's trying to take us is definitely the direction we need to go.
Sure.
And here he is right now. So everybody, please welcome Brian Cheeseman. Oh, nope. Sorry. 1 second. This is fun. This is only our second show, so it's going to take us a little bit getting used to the program.
I'm sorry.
But here he is.
Brian?
Brian. Yep.
What last name?
Cheeseman. And I think he's vegan too, so.
Hello, everybody. So I think I'm having some audio issue.
Good morning, Brian.
I can't hear you guys for some reason. Let me plug in my headset. It might look a little funny, but this is my gaming headset.
Oh, nice.
Say something.
Hi, Brian.
Can you hear me now?
I can't hear anything.
Nothing.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so.
There we go. Okay, now I hear you guys.
All right. Welcome, Brian.
All right, good.
Thanks for joining our show.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. Sorry about the tech issues. So apparently Firefox doesn't work well with this setup that you guys have here. So that was the issue. I was having problems connecting.
Okay.
Oh, well, that's good to know. Thank you for telling me. I'll remember that.
Yeah,
I don't know if we're gonna
Firefox
continue to
doesn't
use
work
this
well
app.
with this Be Live, I guess.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So how's it going?
So-
How are we doing this morning?
We're doing great.
Doing pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. We're happy to have you. So I guess we're going to be talking a little bit about you're going to be talking a little bit about vegetarianism and veganism.
Oh, there's a big difference between vegetarianism and veganism,
Sure.
and how it pertains to the environment and our general overall health. Being a vegetarian is, of course, consuming animal products partly. Usually there's no flesh involved, but there's eggs, cheese, milk,
Honey.
fish, honey, the other forms of all of those different kinds of things from various different animals. So in my eyes, that doesn't constitute being vegan, of course, and being vegetarian has its own class, but it has its uses. I look at vegetarianism as a great segue into becoming vegan, to becoming plant-based, which is ultimately, if you're vegetarian, should be the goal, in my opinion, because the ultimate goal is planetary survival, right? And so if we're looking at it from that aspect of creating the least amount of waste on our own world that is factually dying, scientifically, according to everybody that we've been talking to, our planet is dying.
Yep.
And one of the largest contributors to that is the animal agriculture, monocropping,
Right.
mass agriculture, industrial complex that we have.
Right.
And the one solution that I can see is a Green New Deal coupled with a dietary revolution, and we actually have a shot of getting out of this debacle that we've put ourselves into. And it's our own fault. It's nobody else's fault, but everybody else's. We have to claim responsibility for the actions that we've taken. You know, I mean, I understand that meat tastes good. I understand that it marinates well. It smells wonderful. But when you look at the overall cost of it, whether it's water, whether it's land use, whether it's increased healthcare costs, all of these things compound upon each other to make our situation even worse. No matter if you're consuming milk, eggs, any sort of dairy, whatever it is, it's all going to contribute to the problem that we're all trying to fight.
Right.
So that's part of my view. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say on it too.
I'm curious as to, like, you know, we're having, obviously in this country, we're having a hard time even like accepting, you know, healthcare for all. Like, how do you think you could get people on board with this? And would it be like from the like imposed by law, or do you think it would be from the bottom up? Like, how in the world could you convince this population?
And that's the $1 million question, isn't it? How do we convince Trump that climate change is real? You know, how do we do that?
Right.
Like, how do we tell the guy down the street that his steak is killing the planet? Right. I totally understand it. And just to clarify some background, I used to be a cheeseburger, bacon and cheese with extra sauce on the side type of dude. Mm-hmm. I'm not joking. Yeah. I barbecued, I marinated, I dehydrated, I harvested my own, I grew my own. I did everything that was supposed to, I was told was, you know, oh, you're being a good steward of the environment. But when the reality really sinks in, people just need to wake up. It's almost the same way of trying to talk to people about the political revolution. You know, why do we need the political revolution? To save our planet. Why do we need to change our diet? To save our planet.
Sure.
I mean, it is a personal choice at the end of the day, but your decision to have a steak affects me. It affects the emissions in my environment. It affects the water that I drink. And everything that we have on this earth is finite. Nothing is infinite. So to be able to say that, oh, leave me alone, it's my personal choice, it's a hard pill for me to swallow, because it's a personal choice until the point that it affects other people. And consuming meat affects a lot of people.
That's a really great point. I do
that
have
is a really good point.
Adam and I were both vegetarian for various times, and both vegan for various times. And then I did read. I started studying permaculture a little
Yeah.
bit,
Yeah.
and
Me
that
too.
was very like as far as like energy, incorporating meat was
Carbon
part of the
sequestration
system.
and right.
And
There's
so,
also veganic permaculture too, just to be
sure.
clear.
Sure. Okay. So how I mean, if that's something that you're familiar with, how does that play into your views?
So animals are part of a natural system of the planet. That's no doubt. Death is a part of life. You can't have one without the other. So I understand that there's going to be some forms of farming that are going to incorporate animals. That's just part of humans trying to be stewards of their environment. I mean, animals are part of that environment. And so we want to be able to take care of animals just as much as we want to be able to take care of the planet. So if you're using animals in your farming, there are responsible, ethical ways of doing it. If
Sure.
you're getting rescue animals, if you're not purchasing chickens from the mass production facility down the road, and if you're not getting goats from the goat commercial goat baby maker factory down the road. I mean, Adam and I had a couple conversations earlier, and a lot of it involved that, that home pasture, home raising. Like, I don't have very much of an issue with it if it's done right. And if you incorporate the animal and you're not consuming the animal, then of course I feel that it can improve the life of the general habitat, right? So if you have animals and then you have the organisms that feed off of the waste of that animal, and that those organisms be incorporated into your garden and into your compost and into carbon sequestration and building forests and creating waterways and all of these things that can come out of these transformative things that permaculture and veganic permaculture can do to the environment. If we do it on a massive scale, there's a chance that we can actually do something positive instead of just constantly consuming and taking and taking and taking.
It's right. So you're basically, if it's part of the system and it's creating a better environment.
Yes, that's the ultimate goal is the environment, right?
Sure, and finding the balance.
Exactly. We have taken the balance out of nature. I mean, it's so unnatural.
100%. I agree.
1 second, guys. I'm going to just we got Danielle St John. She's going to join us because she's a part of the Green Party, and one thing is she gardens a lot. So I just know she'll be into this subject.
Awesome.
So
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Danielle. How you doing?
Pretty good. I'm surprised I made it out of bed this morning, though. You guys are East Coasters, I guess.
You and me both. I'm on the West Coast too. No worries.
Oh yeah. My husband's like, I cannot believe you agreed to get out of bed this early, and I'm like, you know what? The revolution doesn't keep business hours. I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that attitude.
That's right. All right, Danielle. This is Brian Cheeseman, and this is Erika Graham, my co-host. And Brian is talking about veganism and the Green New Deal, and how we need to change our whole food industry.
Yes, we definitely need to change our whole food industry. And I guess I come at it from a little bit of a different approach, just because I don't know if incrementalism obviously isn't the way out of this. However, I don't think as Americans we can really just jump right into a full-on vegan diet. I mean, I understand that possibly something of that nature may be needed, but right now, what if we decided to put a huge dent in the factory farming industry? We can't. I don't think that we can get rid of it completely right now. But what I think we can do is, and this is actually my spin on the Green New Deal, I think we need a real Green Deal, because I don't think we can get anything really massive accomplished in our government. I think we're going to have to do it. I think that we're going to have to start realizing that city easements are our land, and we can start to plant, at least community by community, we can plant gardens to feed ourselves. Mm-hmm. As far as meat goes, I don't quite know what to do with beef. Chicken, however, we can people aren't going to give up their eggs. I don't believe we can get people to get rid of their eggs right away. But what we can do is we can get vegans who, are boycotting for very noble reasons, to get chicken coops and to love on some birds and to have, free-ranged, spoiled chickens or chicken eggs that we can now, you're a vegan, you're not going to be participating, but you can give all of those to your neighbors. And that is, and especially for the people who cannot give up this system yet. And right there is something that we can have some meaningful impact to this awful. We know that this industry has to change. And I think that that's the first thing that we can do, the first big stab at it, is to take back our own food production.
Absolutely. That's a huge piece of it.
I was completely agreeing with you up until give it to your neighbors. And then, well, if they die of natural causes, absolutely. No problem. I have no problem with that.
Well, I mean, but here's the thing. It's like you can either give your neighbors these eggs, or you can have them go to the store and support factory farming. And that one boycott, as noble as it is one boycott. But if you can get your whole block to boycott, then one block at a time, we can start taking back and getting people to change the way that they think. One more thing is I honestly believe, I am a meat eater at this point. I obviously I tried to keep it small, but I just don't think that we're going to be able to see this huge transition without being the start of it. And if people actually had to start like slaughtering their own animals, I think that we would probably have a lot more at least vegetarians around.
Absolutely. Right. I actually went through the process.
The eggs, can I ask one thing about, and then I'll let you, for the eggs, I don't know much about this, but Brian, they smell like they got a lot of energy in them. Could we make methane?
Oh, they're packed full of that stuff. That's what they are. They're little bundles of energy. They're supposed to, it's an embryo. All the energy that a life form needs is within that shell. So that's also completely unnatural to us, for us to consume on a natural basis, in my opinion, because of the high amounts of cholesterol, high amounts of fat. There are omega-3s in it, but there's definitely many different ways to get omega-3s. And all of the resources that go into those chickens is, to me, a waste, because I feel those resources could be used for making plants and doing all of that stuff. And I actually have a garden out in my front yard, right behind that window right there, that this summer going to be making the biggest garden I've ever made, coupled with pots and all sorts of everything in the back. So there is ways to be able to do some urban gardening and be able to make your home your kitchen, as opposed to having just the backyard. Let's have like that picture you shared, Adam, just rows and rows, and as far as you can see, of people with, instead of lawns, they have gardens in their front yard. Like, I really think that is a much better approach to feeding ourselves, climate change, carbon sequestration, not contributing to plastic garbage and all of the production that goes into our food system right now. It's out of hand, it's ridiculous, and drastic measures need to be taken. The same drastic measures that need to be taken in all facets of our life, if we're going to be able to even have a shot at trying to turn this around for our planet overall.
I do have to say that I'm in the horticulture industry, and there is definitely a movement towards producing our own food, and it's across economic lines as well. Where, it's from the ultra rich down to people who have very little. That is something that is definitely catching on lately, that I've seen a lot. People trying to to have their own food. Grow their own food, and I don't know if it's just like a trendy thing that's going to pass, but it is happening. It's definitely, I know, me too. Don't let this be a fad.
I've been reading a lot about even urban farms in the middle of the city with they're doing it on the rooftops in Seattle, where I go for my doctor appointments for my hemophilia. Directly across the street, there is a community garden that the church is sponsoring, and it's in an empty lot, and there's just huge buildings all around it. And to see these people on their hands and knees, getting dirty, planting things, transplanting, doing soil, making compost in the middle of the city, such a beautiful thing to
Beautiful.
see.
I know.
Absolutely.
And shipping containers too. And I think in Brooklyn they're doing in like shipping containers, recycled shipping containers are just growing them out. You know,
You can make houses out of those too.
I'm actually
Absolutely.
considering doing that.
Awesome.
But anyhow, it's so that I feel like is almost a little bit more like tangible at this point. You know, that like, you know, bringing it back to ourselves and what we can do. You know, growing for our families and kind of like what you brought on.
Yeah, absolutely. We need that green revolution, man, and
Right.
not just a Green New Deal, a green revolution, because what we consume on a daily basis is part of that Green New Deal. Whether it's plastic, water, resources, minerals, all of this stuff is being taken from the earth, and we're using it. So we need to be way more responsible about it.
Right.
That's all of us. We can lead the way.
And that bottom line mentality is where veganism starts. It starts with the 3 choices you make every single day. You either have the choice to consume animal products or plants. It's really simple, you know. And I'm the cheese man. If the cheese man can become vegan and give up his precious cheese, anybody can do it.
That was the hardest thing for me being a vegan.
It was the hardest thing for me too.
And it was
but
the very first thing I went back to was me too. I got such a stomach ache.
Yeah. Now my question here: what about growing meat in labs?
So that's something that I have been doing a little bit of research on. It is very, very new. So the science behind it isn't really proven. They don't know like any sort of effects downstream that may happen, because you're basically taking a live cell and replicating it just like you would in the human body or the animal body or whatever organism. Who's to say that there's not going to be some mutations? Because DNA is stored inside of a cell. The DNA mutates, the cell's going to mutate. What's saying that you're not going to get some weird, wacky disease, you know, from consuming this lab-grown meat? I mean, it's the same crapshoot as slaughtering an animal, in my opinion.
There's a lot of unknowns. I don't know how I feel about the lab-grown meat yet. I haven't done enough research. I mean, my initial reaction was no. But if it
is more ethical,
greenhouse gases, and it's a lot cleaner and a lot less weight, I don't know.
It also gives you cholesterol, though, and according to the World Health Organization, all meat is still considered a class 2 human carcinogen, which is a possible carcinogen. So it's still kind of walking a line. Like, are you in or are you out? Are you halfway or are you all the way? Like, what are you doing here? So I understand that there are going to be transitional type of nutrition. Like she was saying, we're not going to get people to go overnight. Absolutely, we're not. But we can breed the animals out of existence. We can consume what we have already put onto this earth and take down the population and lessen the resource drain on everybody. Lessen on the resource drain on our economies from the medical bills. Obesity is an epidemic. The #1 killer of Americans is heart disease, followed very shortly by diabetes. Like these are all diet-related illnesses.
Brian, there's one thing. I want to have you on, and I would love to have a podcast, you and me one-on-one, where we can dive into this. Yeah, me too. For like 2 hours, I'm holding back a lot right now, but I do want to say about the cholesterol. In 2015, the USDA took the guidelines of cholesterol off. There is no recommended amount.
They also it was also illegal to call eggs healthy too.
Well, that shouldn't be, because the thing is, cholesterol we're finding out now, cholesterol doesn't cause, you look at the science, my son has type 1 diabetes. I've been studying the science. Cholesterol, dietary cholesterol does not cause heart disease or obesity. You don't gain weight from
fat
eating
does.
cholesterol.
But we also produce our own cholesterol though.
True. Okay. But it depends. You know what the big thing is? Everybody's different when it comes to health, because look, I very thin. My metabolism is super, super fast. So,
and everybody's different. Everybody's got their own.
So everybody is different. You know, some people produce more cholesterol. I'm sure women produce more themselves and all that.
Actually, a little bit less. But yeah. I know what you're saying.
I didn't know.
Usually women, they produce just a little bit less of everything on a general scale when it comes to all of the things. They're just smaller, and when it comes to protein, they don't need as much. Cholesterol, if they don't produce less, we all produce the same. The bottom line is, and the point is, we don't need to produce any more or put any more into our systems.
Interesting.
Right. Okay. I'm with the whole change. So was Einstein. And like when I was a vegetarian 20 years ago, I used to quote Einstein all the time. And like Arnold
World's strongest
Schwarzenegger.
man is vegan.
Yeah, exactly. They are always, because that's what I was just about to say.
Right.
So yeah, and Einstein agreed with that too. But
I have a question though. As far as actually getting, from where we are now to the end goal that we all want. I understand that being vegan probably, is the best way to live. But we have a society full of people that can have McDonald's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. This
Take the subsidies out to start.
Right, and we do all. I mean, it's something to note that we all know that we're owned by certain corporations, right? Oil's an easy one, right?
Sure.
But factory farming, industry farming is one of those kind of insidious things that we don't really think about. We think of them, these, middle America cow farmers, and they're just good old boys, and it's not really the case.
No.
Especially when you see protesters going in and filming factory farming facilities. And instead of having laws changed so that animals are treated more ethically, the laws changed so that it's now illegal to record these atrocities.
Not in Montana, though.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, and but it really does just show you what we can do on a federal level is really just hide and confuse and take away our our
That
resources.
sounds mighty familiar.
Exactly, and so. Now, with all of these things stacked against us, I mean, I don't think that I'm convincing anybody here that we've got a big problem. But the biggest problem is that all of our resources are owned, right? All of them, like straight down to food and water.
Yeah.
Food and water are also basic, things that we need for survival. So I when I'm thinking of how I can be the most impactful and make the biggest change, I think that getting people's mentality in this point that to the point where, oh, well, that's a city easement. That's not our land. We can't use that. Well, wait a second. That is our land, and we absolutely can use that. Where are we going to do it in the middle of the city? How are we going to plant food? How are we going to do that? We just can't. And I've just really been taking pictures, videos of anytime I'm out and I see an apartment complex with a gigantic tomato bush, right? Yes, you can do this, right? It's just, all of these things it's right there. All of the resources are at our fingertips. And all we really have to do is show people how to do this in an open source manner. So I don't like to say Green New Deal. I don't think that the Green New Deal can ever get passed in this mess that we have that we call a government. But the real Green Deal, we can start in every city to plan meetings, and basically, how are we going to take this little community and feed us? How are we going to feed this community with the land that we have? The only thing that I want is that you leave your political identities at the door, because that seems to be where all the division comes from. Is when
I totally agree there.
I'm with
Totally
you.
agree there. And I've actually experienced some of that because I'm part of various different Our Revolution groups. I'm a volunteer for all sorts of Medicare for All groups, trying to get all of these things going. I try not to infuse the political side with the veganism, but at the same time, I tread lightly because it all impacts our environment, right?
Absolutely.
And I try to do the same thing when it comes to gardening. I don't want to put my politics into my gardening. And so you got to be able to differentiate between the two and when's it time to fight and when's it time to let things go.
Right.
Having to be able to teach that, you guys asked earlier, where's the start? That's really part of the start right there, is being able to at least have the conversation. And when politics get brought up into it, it's usually not going to happen.
Right.
Have you guys heard of Ron Finley?
Ron Finley. I don't think so.
I haven't.
He's the gangster gardener. He lives in South Central LA.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
Yes, I have. I believe. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Just for the people who don't know about it, is this guy lived in South Central, raised his family there. And I don't know if it's like this everywhere, but city easements is, if you own a house, there's usually your front yard and then you've got a sidewalk and then, a strip of grass or whatever. that it's not yours, it's city property, but you're tasked with maintaining it.
Right.
So, you know, it was just crap for such a long time. You know, he said one time there was a toilet sitting on this easement for a long time, you know, just, but he finally decided to clean it up and plant a garden, and somebody complained. And because it was illegal in LA at the time to have city easement gardens, but it really does give you a good picture of what our society thinks of us, that you know, a toilet on a city easement is much more appropriate than food. It really does kind of give you a little hint at the grasp of the severity of what we're facing here. So they did a petition, because he got a warning saying, take this garden down or there will be a warrant issued for your arrest.
Man.
Yeah. And I think we're still at this point where food is such a fundamental right, where people will come together to save it. And they actually got petitions signed, and they changed the laws in Los Angeles now, where anybody can plant a city easement garden. But that is something that we're really up against. And to change that mentality, I think it's going to take strength in numbers. It's going to take a whole community, really, to just get that ball rolling, and not be afraid of the government coming in and threatening penalties for using our land appropriately.
Sure.
Yeah.
I really do think that what you're saying is like, that is the, because everybody I think has that intrinsically, like that need to, like, across political lines, across nationalities, everybody has, like, I feel like that little fire to grow and
nurture
and, you know, self-sustain.
Bingo. And that's why, you know, and that's why I bring up chickens. And I know that, like, vegans, the first thing they're like, oh no, it's this and this and this is bad, bad, bad. But think of all of the benefits that it has to your garden. I don't know about you guys, but I have chickens, and I barely have weeds anymore. I don't. I mean, I go. What's that?
Bugs.
Yeah, exactly.
Bugs. See, I want to do that same thing, but with ducks. I want to use ducks because they're a little easier to deal with, and I would love to have some ducks and bunnies running around taking care of all of the little critters.
See, I haven't been able to figure out how to get the bunnies to not eat my garden, but the chickens.
I would welcome it. Here's some lettuce, guys. Come on, let's go. Let's go out to the
my
garden. What are we gonna get? I'll share.
They don't share though. They'll eat it all.
They don't share.
They don't.
There's definitely ways. But I want an indoor bunny, pet bunny, that I want to be able to be my bunny. So
perfect.
Okay, so you guys, we got to move it on. I got another guest sitting in the waiting room.
And
Brian.
I have to boogie shortly. As soon as I get the queue over here, I'm gonna have to head out.
That's good. I'm gonna talk to Danielle for a little bit. Brian, thank you very much for coming on.
No problem, man. Yeah, anytime. You let me know if you want me to come on again, and we're gonna get something set up for you guys for our show too. Be sure to check out our Revolution Washington Bernie Crats, our Revolution Grant County. Love y'all. Peace.
Peace.
All right. Those links will be below.
Dan, where are you? Where are you anyway, Danielle? Are you?
I'm in San Diego.
San Diego, awesome.
Yeah. And so
you got year-round gardening over there, girl.
Absolutely. It's like Eden. There's no reason that I mean, seriously, I have a tomato bush that's gone for 3 seasons. It hasn't gone dormant.
That's awesome.
Yeah. There's no reason for us not to be growing our own food.
Right.
So hold on 1 second. I left my hair straightener on.
And oh no. Mom, whenever you're ready, let me know.
All right.
Yes, make sure your car starts.
Okay. All right, Erika, we'll let you go. I'm gonna let you go. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, you guys. Have a great day. Thanks so much for joining us, Danielle. All
Thanks.
Right. Talk to you later, guys.
So Danielle, thanks for coming on. I liked what you said about leaving the party thing at the door, and I think the political affiliation at the door. And I think that hearing this conversation today, I think this is the biggest fight we might have, really, right here. And we're fighting Monsanto, we're fighting the USDA, we're fighting a lot of them.
Yeah. And it's very telling too that Monsanto is this, was this big evil thing that people finally started to kind of wrap their heads around, that they were above the law, able to do things that, that normal people, normal companies weren't able to do. And then once, that public awareness started to build about this,
Right.
What happened? Poof, gone, just like they never existed. Bear, now they're bear. People trust
Yeah.
bear, right?
Yeah, that's a problem. We're gonna have a big fight ahead of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And the most troubling thing I think is that people who understand how massive this problem is can't seem to stop fighting each other, right? It's like we have so many division even among the people who are aware there's a problem that we're not going to be able to have any kind of unity, I think, in the political process, right?
Right.
So yeah, that's the only thing I could really think of is that, it doesn't matter, how you vote in how you vote. Not that voting matters anyway. So why are we fighting over it when our planet's being destroyed?
Right. And yeah, so we need to just grassroots organize, bottom up, really. And like you said, all of our towns, just like we're doing, for all the politics stuff, but try to maybe leave the politics at the door and just say, look, we need to grow food in our hometown, and everyone needs to do it across the United States.
Yes.
And we can do a grassroots action here. I'm down with this. This is great.
It's really the only way that we're going to be able to do it. And when you think of the problem, as everything, all of our resources, including us, because people are resources, are owned. I mean, there's really no way around that except for us to acknowledge that everything, all of our resources are owned, including people, and start to take them back. And when you look at it in those terms, the problem seems really kind of overwhelming. So I think that there's 3 resources that we need to focus on first, take back 3 resources, and the rest, it should be like a snowball effect, and that's food, news, and health, right? So yes, we've talked about these things, we talked about food, obviously, but how are people even going to know to grow their own gardens if they're not given the appropriate information, right? Like,
right.
People, I guess there's a big part of the population who, goes and watches their Fox News or their, MSNBC, and they think
right.
that they're actually getting exposed to real information. And that's absolutely not true. So I think social media is going to be a huge part of taking back our news.
Yes, that's it. That's what we're about right here. We're doing it.
Absolutely.
It's independent media.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got to move this show on, Danielle. But and I'm sorry to cut you short here, but I would like to have you on again, where you and me can discuss a lot more stuff.
Absolutely.
So let's try to get something together where we can maybe start some grassroots action. We'll get Brian, you, me, all of us, Erika involved. Maybe we'll brainstorm something. We'll start doing it. I would like to have you on.
Sure, and I'm starting in my own community, right? That's how we all have to start. So, I'm close to calling a meeting in my community of leaders who can get this done. I've picked my little suburb of San Diego where to start, Ocean Beach, California, and from there, this is going to be an open source process. So of course I'll invite you guys along and share everything, all of the knowledge that I know. How to take back our cities, how to take back our land and our food.
Yes, I know you're going to do it. And that's the thing is, I'm above I tried to be above the duopoly and the political affiliation. That's why I've always liked all your posting that you and me see eye to eye on this stuff. There's stuff that you and me don't see eye to eye on. But let's just leave that at the door and worry about what we do agree on.
Absolutely. That's the only way through it. We are the only way out of this. As much as people want to support Bernie Sanders may be, the beacon, but we're the only way out of this mess, not Bernie Sanders.
That's right. Yep. That's what he's told us.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me on. And definitely, it's early, but it's definitely worth getting up and getting an early start to talk to you. So thank you so much.
Thank you for everything.
Okay, bye, Adam.
Bye. Bye. All right, guys, we're going to move along. I got Don Ford here. It's going to talk to us about some democratic organizing. Hey, Don.
Yo, what's up?
What's going? How you doing?
Oh my God, it's 5 a.m. But let's do this. I'm ready.
Let's do it. So, what's new?
Oh my God. Well, let's see. From the start, Bernie Sanders raised $10 million in a week. He got 1 million people to sign up to be volunteers for what they're trying to accomplish.
Right.
There's been an incredible energy amongst all the people that we would normally be involved with, where things are really like reigniting, which is super exciting. But, for me, I think that things are really becoming really apparent about how the fight for the Democratic Party is so pressing. I think that a lot of people want to say, oh, well, we'll just let them handle it and whatever, but we'll be independent. We'll be all these things. And I think there's really a time right now that we get this second chance to make a push on the party and make a move on what control. I think that when you talk about the Democratic Party, right, it's hard to forget about how they're one of two groups that nominate a potential president of America, like United States. So I think a lot of people lose sight in we're not playing a game here. We're actually affecting the world map on how not just America is seen, but how we present ourselves to the entire world. So there's this thing where people go, oh, I think it's really hard. I go, yeah, but I know it's hard and I know it's challenging, but we have the chance to control who is going to be president.
Right.
I don't know. I think people have really lost sight on that. So I'm hoping that people are going to get re-involved and re-engaged and start taking on their local Democratic parties in mass, because at the end of the day, it is a giant popularity contest. Even as we move forward, where I think the number one question I get asked on a regular basis as we move forward is, how does one become a delegate? And a delegate is a relatively simple idea as far as the party is concerned, because it's the delegate to represent the presidential nominee at the Democratic National Committee convention, right? But that's only the tip of the iceberg in the sense of how much we can do. And I think an iceberg is actually a really good metaphor, because you see this little tiny thing above the water, but it can be this giant thing that sinks the Titanic underneath it. And so there's really something to say about if everyone got involved and got engaged and challenged these corporatist neoliberals that are, and I like to refer to a neoliberal, by the way. I know neoliberal is an economic idea, right? It's about austerity to some degree. And I know that people kind of miss that point. But I think that neoliberals I call them single issue progressives. So they have one issue they're very progressive about: environment, gender identity, just whatever it is in general. There's like one issue. And those people are very focused on what they're trying to accomplish, and they miss kind of the big picture. And so we need really these like young people to get involved and get engaged and stay present in changing and shaping this, because this is one of the two groups that decides the president. It's not going to change anytime soon. I know the duopoly is evil and everyone goes on about how terrible it is, but at the end of the day, still the way it is. Hasn't changed in 2016. Here we are again.
Yeah. So how do you become a delegate?
So it's different from state to state. I'll give you the short version.
Okay.
So if you're in a caucus state, it's actually really easy in the sense that it's determined at the caucus. You go through the state caucus, into the county caucus, into the whatever the final one is called. I'm drawing a blank. I think it's in reverse, actually. It's county to committee to state or whatever. There's 3 steps, basically, is the point I'm trying to make. That's in a caucus state. Now, in a primary state, it's totally wonky. In New York, for example, you have to be on the ballot during the primary process. You've got a ton of signatures. It's really intense. In California, we do a process based on state assembly districts. So it's ADs, what we call them. And basically, we establish like all these people are going to go, depending on what the percentage of wins, depends on how many people go on to actually the convention. It gets so if you're interested in being a delegate right now, and I just had the Vermont State Party share a comment on one of my posts. I love that guy. He's a good friend. Basically, all the state parties are coming up with their delegate selection plans over the next I don't know, 6 months, I want to say.
Okay.
So you're definitely going to want to keep an eye out and keep a voice in your state party. So if people want to get involved, they want to be a Democrat for Bernie, start putting pressure on your state party leadership as fast. You don't need to be super hostile. This isn't 2016.
Okay.
We don't have like hundreds and hundreds of superdelegates stacked one way or another. As a matter of fact, Bernie Sanders might actually have more superdelegates than any other candidate right now.
Really?
Yeah, but we don't want to talk about them as superdelegates. We want to call them automatic delegates, because the idea behind superdelegates is they automatically get a vote. They automatically go to the convention. So they don't vote on the first ballot. We changed the rules. We are very, oh my God, what a stressful just mess it was. But we did. We changed the rules. I fought with people. I actually, fun story.
Yeah.
I actually fought with the leader of the Third Way. I don't know if you're familiar with the Third Way, but they're basically the part of the Democratic Party that's tanking it and destroying it. They're super old, which is the main advantage we have here. They're like all in their 60s and 70s.
Okay.
And so the Third Way was trying to pull their bullshit where they could have power and, do what they do. Yeah. And I literally was fighting with the lead architect of the whole Third Way over the rule change that they were trying to make. They were trying to move the superdelegate shuffle that we had into I can't remember what the word is. I'm drawing a blank right now, but basically it was like a underlying rule. And basically at the convention process, they can erase that rule. And that would have brought superdelegates into the forefront in the first vote. Yeah. So bringing this all together, it's just fighting with these people is really important. It sounds crazy, and it sounds like, oh, it's be difficult. We got to challenge these people, but we really do. We really got to say, as young people, I'm 37, and I'm at the tip of millennial. Like I'm right on the edge, and it's so important we fight with these 60 to 70-year-olds because they're just leaving a mess for us, and we got to keep challenging what they think is best because it just hasn't been very effective.
Sweet. So that's the way to get. Okay. So pretty good. Bernie's running. We got a little ways to go before we start getting. Now I heard brand new Congress just picked up a whole bunch of new people. You know anything about that?
Nothing. I wish if we do this again, make sure to throw me some questions. I'll look it up. But brand new Congress changed leadership. Israel Allison was out. She's amazing, and she had to move on because of brand new Congress doing its thing. It's really hard to look at brand new Congress as its own entity because brand new Congress and Justice Democrats were so tied to each other and what's going on.
I know.
And Justice Democrats, here's the thing. Brand new Congress elected Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but for some reason, Justice Democrats is getting all the credit.
Oh yeah, I noticed.
Why that's happening is actually very internal, right? So, this woman who's actually amazing. She's not a big fan of me at this precise moment, but Alex Rojas is the leader of Justice Democrats. So she was also on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's campaign staff. Now she should have gone on to work in her congressional campaign, but I'll be honest, Justice Democrats was run by some super corrupt people, and the brand new Congress wasn't too far off. Now, Israel Allison is amazing. I don't want to badmouth her at all. She's fantastic. Love her. Nothing but good things to say. When the shuffle was made because they were funneling money, the brand new Congress people all grabbed on. Okay, so the guy is Sycat, I think his name is. I can't remember his last name. And Corbin Trent. Yeah. And both of them, Corbin Trent became the communications director for Ocasio-Cortez, and Sycat became I'm not sure I'm getting his name right, but it's close to that. He became her chief of staff. And that's the job that Alex Rojas should have gotten because that's what you normally do in campaigns. But they convinced her to take on the sinking ship of Justice Democrats, which I think is really rude because she did the work and she did the thing. I feel like she got a really raw deal. And so right now, Ocasio-Cortez is trying to announce Justice Democrats as the thing, because her people, which is Alex Rojas, is now in charge of that. So it's become this really like muddled, borderline dishonest issue. I have a lot of problems with it. I'm sorry. I just
Yeah,
do.
it's a little bit of a mess. I know, no, I picked up on all that stuff. I've been following the whole thing since 2017, since they started and stuff. And I started pulling away from them. And I didn't understand the internal struggle between BNC and Justice Democrats. And then I did. When I figured it out, I was like, I was having some issues with the Justice Democrats. Now, brand new Congress, I really like them. I like everybody that works for them. I like the way they did it. But one of the big differences that I noticed is brand new Congress picked up their people at the very beginning and didn't pick anybody new up. And they stuck with their core. Justice Democrats was endorsing people like Pam Keith 3 months before Election Day. And some of those people that they picked up on, I didn't think fit the bill for being progressive. But
I know Pam Keith personally, and she's a fantastic person. She's a veteran. I have really lots of good things to say about her, but she absolutely does not fit the bill of a Justice Democrat.
Exactly.
And I think what was going on is that they thought that they were just going to kind of tag on to whoever they thought was going to be successful. Because if you look at the 3 candidates who won it under them, right? You got Ilhan Omar, who is amazing. I met her in I met her. She grabbed my phone. She said, "I'm getting really good at this selfie." I have a great photo with her. She's fantastic, amazing human being. But she had the backing of the state party. She was a state house representative. She had incredible support, right?
Right.
Rashida Tlaib, whose name I am sure I'm butchering, is a good friend. She's amazing. Again, state house, strong ground game. Justice Democrats had nothing to do with her win. When it comes to Ocasio-Cortez, the Justice Democrats. Okay, so I did Ocasio-Cortez. This is a big thing of contention right now. Like the official status is they won't admit that I did this, but they won't deny me either, which is I'll just take it. Fuck it, let's do this. But I did Ocasio-Cortez's strategy back in March. March 6th is actually the day that I met with her. And my first conversation, my very first thing I said to her was, the Justice Democrats are not going to show up until they feel like they have something to gain from you, which is kind of ironic that Sycat and Corbyn latched on once they felt like she was becoming this like popular thing, because they knew the Justice Democrats as a thing wasn't going to keep their bank accounts full. These people also were part of the Bernie Sanders campaign, but they were also viewed as kind of like there for the recognition. They weren't there to like make it work, which is what I love about the Bernie campaign moving forward. Talking about Bernie for a second, is that not to just complain about everyone at 5 a.m, but but with the Bernie campaign, they really recognized, and I was in communication with his congressional campaign manager up until very recently. He was always very clear that he felt these people weren't really like the true believers. And that's what I like about the Bernie campaign now. They got rid of, they just got rid of recently a consulting group that included some members that were really problematic in 2016. So I'm super excited to see them abandon those people. That whole firm is gone. I don't know if you're familiar, but in 2016, there was a Chicago media buy that was like $25 million. And it was total garbage. It was going against the Rahm Emanuel, who was the mayor of Chicago, who they just had elections, by the way, for today. And 2 very powerful women, black women, women of color, whichever you prefer, are up in a runoff. So that's super exciting. But the commercials were against Rahm Emanuel, which in Chicago, he was kind of popular. So I'm really happy to see that the Bernie campaign is making steps to avoid these things that were extremely problematic. I think they're really learning.
Yeah, I think this is it. I think we got a really, really good shot of running Bernie all the way there and taking the White House back.
I can tell you exactly why we're going to take the White House back with Bernie if you'd like. Are you ready?
Yeah.
So here's how it comes down. I presented this strategy to them. Of course, for free because they're not going to give me money to do it, and I just had to do it. But basically, what it comes.
No.
You're good, boss. You're good. I saw it. It warned me. So the thing is,
Okay.
you're good. You're good. So what it came down to is the. Are you aware of how much popular vote in each state a candidate needs to acquire in order to get any delegates?
30%?
Nah, 15%.
Oh.
So in 2016, Hillary Clinton got completely locked out of Vermont because Bernie cleared it with like was it like 87%. So she only got like that's not exactly accurate, but the point is she got less than 15%. That means she got no delegates. That's when things like lit on fire in the Hillary campaign because the caucus states like Alaska and Nebraska, we were trying to push her out of 15%, make her non-viable, right? That was the goal. So moving forward in 2016, a lot of people are like, oh, there's going to be like 20 candidates. What do we do? And I go, well, it doesn't matter because those candidates are going to break up the popular vote. Like, let's just raw numbers, right? Let's say hypothetically Bernie got 47%. This was the national delegate roll, 47% to 53%. That was the national seat, right? Now, if Bernie maintains his 47% and that 53% is broken up by like 30 candidates or 7,
right?
They're going to have a hard time achieving above 15%. Only 2 candidates right now, besides Bernie Sanders, are polling above 15%. Keep in mind, a year before the major campaigns start, and that's Kamala Harris, who's polling at exactly 15%, and Joe Biden, who Joe Biden's polling is all over the place because people still think he's Obama. So, and we don't even know if he's going to get in the race. He's probably going to jump in, but he may or may not. If he jumps in, that's Kamala Harris's tombstone. It might as well just have Joe Biden's name on it. So, so moving forward, we're looking at all these different states. Like, let's say Iowa and New Hampshire are our first 2 states, and then we immediately get into Super Tuesday, which is like 9 or 10 states all at once, right? Some states still have their dates coming up. They have to decide them. It's going to make it more specific. Point being is that this whole competition is going to be over in like 2 months. We're not going to have the same primary thing that we had in 2016 where it was
that would be so fantastic.
Well, it goes both ways because it's stressful in the sense that California is now a part of Super Tuesday, so it's immediately after Iowa and New Hampshire. I believe it's February 3rd or 4th is Iowa. It's right around there. Super Tuesday is 1 month after that exactly. So there's going to be like 6 or so primary caucuses, and then we're going to get into like 14 at once. Now, when it comes to Bernie, he already won New Hampshire. He almost won Iowa. Like, we're talking like 49.9% how close it was in Iowa. So if he can maintain that vote grab, then all these other candidates are fighting over their, that 53%, right? Hypothetically. And it's going to be very challenging for them to achieve over 15% to get any delegates at all.
Nice.
So what it's going to come down to is California. And in California, Kamala Harris, of course, is already our senator. J.J. Abrams and all these Hollywood stars are going to all the rich people are going to throw money at her. But here's the deal. She's probably not going to be viable in Iowa. Especially if Joe Biden jumps in the race. She's not going to be viable in New Hampshire. So she's going to pull votes away in California. Like, she's going to, I would say, bold estimate, she pulls 25% of California right at the top. Because here's the thing about Kamala Harris in California. Yes, she is my senator, but she's not very popular. And people think like, oh, it's a thing. It's like, no, Dianne Feinstein is an institution. Kamala Harris will lock you up in an institution.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing. So, So there's really something to say about how we move forward from this point and that we drive through. So we're probably Bernie wins between 25 and 35% in California. But keep in mind, because of how our provisional ballot system works, last time we gained delegates just day after day as more votes came in and more votes came in. So at first, we got to keep in mind, we're going to seem like we got totally destroyed in California. That's how they're going to present it, because that's their whole game. The corporations, that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that when it comes into driving through California, that like California is going to be a loss for Bernie Sanders.
Really?
Yeah, it's nothing we can do about it. We can work our asses off. The grassroots is a total fucking disaster. I don't know if I can cuss on your show, but it's happening.
No, I don't care, but I do know that it's a mess out there.
It's a fucking mess.
Yes.
As someone who deals with the smear campaigns that these people put on, like they smear me. I mean, actually, they primarily smear me. So I
seen it.
I'm sure everyone's seen it. But it's all a bunch of horse shit. They're just power hungry people who feel like anyone who ideas are more popular than theirs are going to somehow inhibit their ability to do whatever they're doing. And you're just like, okay. Anyways, so we're going to do our best, but California is going to be a loss. But if we win every other state with a majority, then even with the 300 and 400 delegates that are here, it's not going to matter. So Kamala Harris is going to come out with like, I don't know, 75 to 85 delegates out of California, but that could be very well all she gets. It's very Jerry Brown in the 80s kind of vibe.
Okay.
So yeah, everyone's all freaked out, and I'm like, but are they going to achieve 15% in Iowa and New Hampshire?
Let's hope not.
And here's the deal. We drive hard in Iowa and New Hampshire, which we have already won New Hampshire.
Right.
They're going to be so psyched out that no one's going to know anything. And not to mention when you're dealing with 10 states, the Kamala Harris campaign, even though they are picking up a lot of Hillary people, they're not really going to be able to handle it well. They didn't handle it well last time. They're not going to handle it well this time. It's just a reality.
Great. All right, well, we're going to wrap the show up. It's time to end it. But hey, Don, I appreciate you coming on this early in the morning.
Yeah.
And I'd like to have you on some more and discuss more strategies for moving forward.
Yeah, I would just prefer if it wasn't this early in the morning. But
okay, we'll try. We're thinking of having an evening show too. Actually,
I just wonder if, like, are we hosting this from the moon? Where are we? Where this time zone is appropriate? I'm just wondering.
East Coast. It's actually almost 9 in the morning out there. But.
Oh my God. And next time I might let you ask me some questions instead of talking over your show the whole time.
No, dude. Hey, you're packed with information, and that's what our people want to hear. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for telling us what you know, and we're going to have you back on and ask you a bunch more questions.
My pleasure.
All right. Have a good morning.
You too, boss.
All right. And that's our show tonight, guys. Thank you for coming on. It's TCSN Live. We're just getting started with this. Our website's going to be up in a couple of days, weeks. We're looking at probably a week top. So check that out. We're going to have a newsreel with independent media. We got people writing articles. We're going to have our live shows posted on it. So thank you for tuning in. Everybody have a beautiful morning. TCSN Live.